there's always going to be people writing about New York. Always. Somebody's done it better before. Somebody will do it better again.
Welcome to Modo di Bere, the podcast about local drinks and local sayings. I'm your host, Rose Thomas Bannister. This is a preview of an exclusive bonus episode with Giulia Álvarez-Katz, the New York City novelist, food writer, and videomaker, who I interviewed in Season 2, Episode 11 of the English podcast. I love being in the presence of Giulia's vibrant imagination. Several months after recording this interview, Giulia joined the Modo di Bere team as our podcast editor and assistant producer on various video projects. To hear the full episode today, go to patreon.com/Modo di Bere and become a supporter at the podcast lover level. If you're already a supporter, thank you so much for making this show possible.
I gotta say, I think what's actually really working with this is the American cheese more than anything else.
Oh, American cheese and Aglianico. Ooh.
It's something... Okay, and do you want to do something crazy? This, changed my entire perspective on American cheese. So... last January, we went to Jago, which is a Bhutanese restaurant. At the time, I didn't know anything about Bhutanese food other than I knew that Bhutan was like a tiny little kingdom in the Himalayas. So mountain people. That's all I knew. Come to find out, the whole backbone of Bhutanese cuisine is chilies and cheese. Everything they do is chili cheese based. But it's yak cheese because they're in the Himalayas, which fair enough. And the guys at Jago, this Bhutanese restaurant, they obviously they don't have the margins. Who the hell has the margins for yak cheese if all of your dishes are cheese-based? So they could not get yak cheese, but they wanted to find the closest equivalent. And so they tried out a bunch of cheeses. They trial and errored their way through it. Worked really hard to nail down what would be the perfect analog to yak cheese. Turns out it's a combination of feta and American.
That's yak cheese.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this is, keep in mind, this is not a kid whose parents are Bhutanese and he grew up in the U.S. and he's only had Bhutanese food. This is he grew up in Bhutan. The only reason he's even here is because he was a mountain biker. And he was taking tourists out on these crazy mountain biking trails that they have out there. But it turns out if you grow up in a place where the mountain biking is really hard, you end up just being naturally a very good mountain biker. Mm-hmm. And these random two people from Colorado watched him bike and they were like, yo, we'll sponsor you for a visa so you can go to the Olympics. And he was like, okay. And then he got an injury, so he couldn't. But he had this visa and got to stay in the U.S., so he opened this restaurant instead. But the fact that he said that yak cheese is very close to American and feta really changed my perspective on it. I was like, okay, American cheese is perhaps more complex than I gave it credit for.
To hear the full episode, go to patreon.com/Modo di Bere and become a supporter at the podcast lover level. Support us on Patreon. Grab the newsletter at mododibere.com and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Modo di Bere to watch the travel show Modo di Bere TV. Music for the show was composed by Ercilia Prosperi for the band Oh. Purchase their music at the link in the notes.